5 big billionaires that are behind this attempted blue wave that are pouring hundreds of millions of dollars into this blue wave. And the first name is Tom Steyer. It says left-wing billionaire Tom Steyer is gearing up to spend at least $110 million in this election cycle to bid to push Democratic Party leftward and unseat dozens of Republicans. Then you have a second name here, Michael Bloomberg. Of course. Imagine my shock. Michael Bloomberg, the billionaire former mayor of New York City, is also becoming the leading donor of the Democrats in their efforts to retake the control in Washington. And you have another name here, Donald Sussman. Once again, imagine my shock. Donald Sussman, a billionaire hedge fund manager, is among the top Democratic donors in the 2018 election cycle. Reid Hoffman, the co-founder of LinkedIn, is one of Silicon Valley's top donors to the Democrats, which, compared to other billionaires, Hoffman's donations aren't as big. As a mere $7 million this election cycle, his influence spans beyond contributions to Democratic PACs. James Simmons is the co-founder of Renaissance Technologies, a hedge fund that's generally associated with the conservative Mercer family, but this time he is donating all of the money that's going towards the midterms from him to the Democratic Party. Just as the Koch brothers came out and said they hate Trump, they're donating their money to Democrats instead of Republicans this time. And also on this list, they're also forgetting one of the largest donors to the Democratic Party, and that is Haim Saban, another billionaire. Now, can I just mention one thing? And I think that this is where a lot of sometimes people on the right, they have been accused of what people call anti-Semitism. Now, it's a very controversial topic, but I can't help but notice, and I'm only going to speak truth on this channel, as many of you know, I can't help but notice that all 5 of these people, actually 6, if you include Haim Saban, are Jewish people. They are Jew. Now, not all, of course, we can't group everyone in, but it is something that you notice sometimes. You notice the Krugmans of the New York Times, and you notice the Weissmans, who are always talking about white privilege and talking about how bad white people are, and all of these different people with these particular ethnic last names who, if you look at the origin of their last name, you will see that all of these people are in fact Jewish. And unfortunately, the Republican Party just doesn't have enough Jewish billionaires behind them. Now, there are a couple, for sure. There is a few people that donate to the Republican Party, but not even close to the amount of people who donate to the Democratic Party. Now, once again, nothing that you see is grassroots from the Democrats. You can always find big money behind, some of these different some of these different protests that you see, the feminists screaming their heads off, banging on the front doors of the Supreme Court. And then you have feminists screaming their heads off inside of the Capitol building and outside of the Capitol building and all over the place as Justice Kavanaugh was confirmed and even leading up to him being confirmed. And then you have other groups, large groups, who are very powerful within the U.S., who also happen to be Jewish groups as well, coincidentally, like the ADL, the Anti-Defamation League, and the SPLC, and also HIAS, who are either, if they're not signing letters to Congress demanding that we accept 1 million refugees into America, they're teaming up with YouTube and Facebook and policing content and banning conservatives off their platform, or they're calling everyone hate speech and hate groups and hate mongers and racists and sexists and homophobes and misogynists, or whatever the case may be, whatever they're putting their money towards. We just can't match that. And then, of course, you have the media behind them, the big corporate media, and Hollywood, of course, behind that, all of the Hollywood producers, all of the movie directors, and everyone else, all behind the Democrats, donating money to the Democrats. And they need it, by the way, because we're winning. They need it because we're winning. See, we are the true grassroots movement. I'm out there. If you've been subscribed for a while here on this channel, you've seen me go live at many, many, many rallies all across the country. And most of this was coordinated on Facebook as a grassroots movement, much like you see with Brazil, what's happening in Brazil right now. Like I said, Bolsonaro, his security guards were mainly YouTubers. And this is basically how it's going to have to be for us, unfortunately, because we can't even get the traditional Republican donors behind us anymore, like the Koch brothers and the rest of them. So it's okay because we're winning. it's okay because no matter how much money they put into their campaign during the midterms, the Senate is certain. We're certainly absolutely 100% going to gain Senate seats as long as you guys get out and vote, of course. The House, I'm not so confident about. We'll have to see what happens. A lot of the polling, I tend to believe, because a lot of the polling data seems to have corrected itself since 2016. But once again, I could be wrong, and it could be an absolute shutout by the Republicans once again. But there was another group that I mentioned in the video where I told you, and I went to their websites and showed you that actually George Soros, the Open Society Foundation, is absolutely funding these particular groups who coordinated these protests outside of the Kavanaugh hearings and inside the Capitol building there. There's a group called Swing Left, and that was one of the major groups that coordinated a lot of the protests that happened there, who's funded by George Soros, and they have been donating lots of money, like tens of thousands of dollars, sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars, throughout each and every district in the House race. And they're focusing on the House race; they're not even focusing on the Senate because they know that it's pretty much long gone for them. Pretty much. I mean, that we're going to be, somewhere around 52 to 54 seats when it's all said and done in the Senate. But they're really focusing on the House race, all these different districts, tens of thousands, from anywhere from 10,000 to 20,000 to 50,000 in each of these districts here. And I think that that's where a lot of the billionaires that I've listed off here, where a lot of their money is going as well, mainly towards the House race. So we're going to need every vote that we can get. So hopefully you guys get out there and may the best man win.